Once upon a time, in the sun-drenched kingdom of Virelia, nestled between sapphire seas and emerald forests, lived a princess named Liora. She was known far and wide not for her beauty, though she was beautiful, nor her wisdom, though she was wise, but for a trait that baffled nobles and commoners alike, her laziness. While other royals trained in swordsmanship or governance, Liora lounged in hammocks strung between marble pillars. She would gaze at the clouds, drink honeyed tea, and nap for hours. When advisors presented her with matters of the realm, she waved them off with a yawn or a gentle later. The court was scandalized. "She won't last a day if we make her queen," the High Chancellor muttered. "She's a disgrace," sniffed Lady Vernil, a noblewoman with 3 overachieving sons. But despite her reputation, King Alderon, her father, never criticized her. He had ruled Virelia for 30 years and knew there was more to people than what met the eye. One day, news arrived from the north: the kingdom of Brogar, a land of iron and fire, had fallen under the rule of a warlord named Varnak the Black-Toothed. He was sweeping southward with an army of mercenaries, torching towns, claiming lands, and demanding tribute. Virelia's army was skilled, but outnumbered. Fear rippled through the kingdom. The king summoned his council. "We must prepare for war," said General Corin. "Send scouts. Fortify the borders. Ready the army." They debated for hours, but Liora, sitting cross-legged on a velvet cushion with a plum in hand, interrupted with a yawn. "Or," she said lazily, "we could simply not fight him." Gasps echoed around the chamber. "You would have us surrender?" General Corin cried. "No, no," Liora said, flicking plum juice from her fingers. "I mean, why waste lives when we can redirect him?" "Redirect?" her father asked, raising an eyebrow. Liora stood and stretched, a slow, graceful movement like a cat waking from a nap. "Give me 3 days. I'll handle Varnak." General Corin scoffed. "With what? A pillow and a lullaby?" But the king, who had seen a quiet cunning in his daughter since she was a child, agreed. 3 days. The kingdom shall prepare for war, but if Liora succeeds, we avoid bloodshed. Liora didn't don armor. She didn't gather troops. She requested only 3 things: a carriage, a box of books, and a silk canopy for shade. She traveled north with a small entourage and a caravan of gifts, wine, fine fabrics, a lute player, and an old chess set. The court watched her go with a mix of disbelief and dread. 3 days later, Varnak's camp was buzzing. Word had spread that the princess of Virelia had come, not to parley, but to relax. Varnak, a brute with a scar down one eye and a belly like a barrel, was intrigued. He'd crushed armies, burned cities, but never met a princess who came willingly to his camp bearing books. Liora entered Varnak's tent with unhurried steps. She wore loose silks, her hair unbound, a parasol spinning gently above her shoulder. "Princess," Varnak growled, bemused. "Have you come to beg for your kingdom?" Liora reclined on a cushion someone had rushed to provide. "Not at all. I've come to offer you something far more valuable than conquest." He laughed. "Is that so?" She nodded. "You see, conquering Virelia will take time. Siege. Blood. All so you can sit in a castle worrying about taxes and revolts. Exhausting." She handed him a goblet of wine. "Now, what if instead of fighting, you stayed here? I'll teach you chess, poetry, the art of napping under stars. We'll enjoy wine, stories, leisure." Varnak blinked. "Leisure? Yes. War is a young man's game. But comfort? That's a true conquest." He stared at her. This delicate-looking woman who spoke with the calm confidence of someone utterly unbothered by the sword at his hip. Varnak was not a stupid man. He had once been a farmer before war took his land. He had fought because he had to. He had led because no one else could. But he was tired. Over the next 3 days, Liora stayed in his camp. She played chess with him, told tales of Virelia's festivals, introduced him to the poetry of the Southern Isles, and served him herbal tea that made his old bones feel young again. On the 4th day, he summoned his lieutenants. "I'm not taking Virelia," he declared. "What? Why?" they asked. "Because I've found something better. The princess has offered me an estate by the sea, where I can retire. Teach poetry. Eat mangoes. I'm done with war." The men stared, stunned. Liora returned to Virelia with Varnak beside her, not as a conqueror, but as a guest. The court erupted in disbelief. "You relaxed the warlord into surrender?" General Corin stammered. "I offered him a choice," Liora replied simply. "He took it." King Alderon smiled. But some still doubted. "She's still lazy," Lady Vernil whispered. Liora overheard, and smirked. Months passed. Varnak settled peacefully by the sea. No further attacks came. Trade flourished. The people whispered of the lazy princess who saved the kingdom without lifting a sword. When King Alderon grew ill, the council gathered again. "Liora cannot rule," one lord insisted. "She lounges all day." But the king raised a hand. "You call her lazy. I call her efficient. She sees the long game. She spares effort not from apathy, but from understanding what truly matters." And so, when the king passed, Princess Liora became Queen Liora the Serene. She did not change her ways. She ruled from a shaded garden, with maps spread across low tables, sipping cold fruit juice. But behind her apparent idleness lay strategy, diplomacy, and vision. She reduced taxes by simplifying systems no one else had thought to question. She ended border skirmishes with gifts and conversations. She chose advisors not for their ambition, but for their creativity. She made naps fashionable and declared that one could govern with calm instead of chaos. Under her reign, Virelia entered a golden age. Years later, children would gather around storytellers and ask, "Is it true the queen once beat a warlord with a chessboard and a smile?" And the storytellers would grin and reply, "Not only that, but she made him thank her for it." They would tell of Queen Liora the Serene, once known as the lazy princess, who taught the world that laziness is not the absence of effort, but the art of choosing where effort is needed most. And sometimes, the quietest ruler brings the loudest peace.